Hey, welcome back to the Commanders Declassified Podcast Live. We are here, post game wrap up. The Commanders just beat the Packers.
Yes.
We got a victory. We are now 3-4. Who would have thought that a couple of weeks ago when we were, 1-4? Now we won two in a row. We're 3-4. We have our first win streak of the season. Fellas, Eric, how you feeling about this W today?
Well, a dub is a dub, so I'll take it. But would you actually believe that 3-4 is the best 7-game start in the Ron Rivera era?
Ooh.
Hmm, I didn't know
We've
that.
been 2-5, I think, every other year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not to poop in the punch bowl, but that's kind of how I roll these days. I'll definitely take the dub today, though.
Yeah, absolutely. 3-5 is our best start under Rivera.
3-4.
3-4, excuse me. Hey, don't give me an extra loss. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, no, right.
Brian, what do you think about the game, man?
It was it was a lot closer than it needed to be, but we needed this win. We were all down in the dumps. I think every Commanders fan was down in the dumps, with the previous 6 games. So we needed this one to right the ship a little bit, quiet the noise, and head into next week with a little bit of good feeling. So much needed win today.
I love it, man. I love it. Eric, if there's one thing that stood out to you about the game today, what is it?
Well, number 4 got it done in the end, so good on him. We're going to just ignore the fact that the reason we were in that position, a big part of the reason we were in that position was the play of number 4. But he fixed, he dug himself out. If we could just not dig ourselves in, that would be even better. But good on him. I mean, he makes, that was a Taylor Heineke game. That's everything you could expect from a Taylor Heineke game. I think you got it all in one game. You got the good, the bad, the ugly. It was all there. So yeah, get ready for the next month of football or so, because that's what we're going to keep seeing.
Yeah, for sure. Brian, I think in the first half, a lot of fans were saying bring in Howe. Heineke put it together a little bit in the second half, like Eric said. Do you still think that bringing in Howe would have been the right move?
Well, I wouldn't have done any in this game, right, to do the halftime switch, because that just that's real desperation. I would have started him from the game, but once you put Heineke in there, you got to let him go. He's one of those guys that we use the term gamer. He's one of those guys that when there's a play to be made, he's going to give you his all, and he's going to try to make that play for you. So even with the poor start, it's something that you got to keep him in there, let him get some reps, because he's been on the bench here 6 weeks, 7 weeks now, so he hasn't gotten a lot of reps. So it was going to look a little ugly at the beginning, but if you wanted to start Hal, you should have started him from the first snap of the game, to bring him in at that point and say, hey, no pressure, go win us the game now. I think that would have been a little unfair. But no, you got to keep Heineke in there and, let him kind of get into the flow of the game. And he did. He eventually turned things around, and he made some big throws down the stretch for us.
And what stood out to you in the game, by the way? I didn't ask you that.
Oh, hey, I got to give props to your boy. Your Antonio Gibson. He looked really good. He was explosive out in space. He had the touchdown there, and his speed really kind of helped the offense when they started to kind of slow down a little bit. So he was really good. But one of the other things, we got to feed Terry. I mean, I don't know how many times we can all say the same things here. Terry made big catches, and he got yards after the catch, but it was still kind of a difficult to even get him those catches, those targets. So keep feeding Terry, because good things happen when we do. So those were kind of the two things that stood out was with those guys' play.
For me, I noticed something today. We had a bunch of crossing routes in this game today. And I don't know. One of the things I wanted to answer when Wentz was out was, is Wentz the problem in terms of the offense, or is Scott Turner the problem with the offense? Early on in the game, we didn't have those crossing routes. Everything was deep, and it was disastrous for Heineke. Second half of the game, it seems like an adjustment was made, and receivers are running in front of Heineke's face where he could see them and make easy completions in front of him. I don't know why that doesn't happen with Wentz in the game, and I don't know if it's Wentz not looking there. I can't speak to that. We need to see more. But I was happy to see that Turner adjusted his play calling to more of the underneath stuff, with that, which helped Heineke quite a bit. It gave him an opportunity to be successful. Throwing down the field with him consistently is never going to work. He made a great throw, 37 yards down to Terry McLaurin down the sideline, which I thought was fabulous, absolutely fabulous, and great play there. But I noticed that there was an adjustment by the offensive coordinator in the second half of the game. The other thing that stood out to me today was just what you said, Brian. Terry McLaurin is such a monster for us. And for some reason, he gets parked in like the third most target range for us week in and week out. And this week, Heineke, either by design or by choice, targeted Terry McLaurin relentlessly, and it paid off big time. The throw at the end of the game when he came back to the ball, that was just a prayer Heineke sent up in the air, and Terry McLaurin came down and answered it. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. But guess what? They still found a way to have Curtis Samuel be effective. He still got plays. He just doesn't need to be the focal point of the offense. I saw some offensive creativity, in a few plays from Scott Turner. The problem is they're just randomly thrown in there, and you would like to see those things kind of be set up a little bit more. I thought the option play that we ran with Armani Rogers as the quarterback was interesting. There were a couple other plays I didn't love as much, but so some adjustments by Scott Turner was really good to see. All right, so Green Bay was 3-3, and now we are 3-4. So I think we're both 3-4 at this point. Eric, do you credit us with the win, or do you think Green Bay gave this game away?
No, I every win is a win. You credit the team for every win. Green Bay certainly helped. They're pretty bad. They're almost at Chicago's level of bad. But, I mean, you have to give this team – I think you give our defense a ton of credit. Outside of that one drive where they just decided to start committing penalties on every play towards the end there, the defense was lights out today. They gave up – prior to that, they'd given up one touchdown. And so defense was definitely on point today. The offense – I think what you see with Taylor Heineke is the reason why starting him is the right choice over Howell. Like he knows the whole offense. You can run everything, or you can open up the offense with Heineke. You're looking at a very basic offense. You're basically giving up if you're starting Sam Howell. And as much as I like Sam Howell's potential, he should not see the field unless everything goes south this year. And I'm gonna die on that hill. So I'm happy that they were able to make enough plays to win. Obviously, Heineke needs to clean things up moving forward because he was pretty awful in the first half. So, we'd like to see a full game from him. You can credit some of that maybe to Russ, maybe just being a little too amped up, but he was way off target. I think he was like one of his first 7 passes in the first half. It was just atrocious. The horrible pick six, almost fumbled away. We got really bailed out on that scoop and score because that was a ticky-tack illegal contact penalty.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I'm going to give this team credit for the win, particularly the defense. But yeah, Green Bay certainly helped. So thank you for sucking Green Bay.
And I don't think that – I think this is what Heineke is, Eric, to be honest with you. I don't think there's cleaning up anything. I think this is what you're going to get. If that scoop and score doesn't get called back, we don't win the game. But that being said, you're right. The defense won the game today. They went out there, they won the game. Jamin Davis was outstanding today. Montez Sweat had a lot of pressure today. Look, a guy we kind of made fun of when he first got called up, Wild Goose. Wild Goose was laying the lumber today on those Green Bay receivers. I thought the Green Bay receivers were getting in their feelings today because Terry was in their face. I thought Curtis Samuel brought the right kind of energy. The team was a lot more pumped up than I've seen them all season. If you want to credit that to Taylor Heineke, I'm not going to argue with you there. But they just seem to have a different kind of fire today on the field, which was really, really good to see. Brian, offensively as a whole, okay, we put 23 points on the board. We lost a field goal there. We were in the red zone twice and came away with field goal attempts, excuse me. If you had to grade this offense, I know you typically put out a report card after games. What are you thinking in terms of grades for the offense?
The report card will be out here shortly, and the offense, I mean, it was a C+. I mean, that was a ordinary output. I know it looked like it was really good, for our standards, because the last couple of weeks we've been very, very bad on offense. We haven't been able to do much of anything. So having a little bit more cohesiveness in the second half here today, looked a little bit better. But we still played bad in that first half. So it was a solid effort, but it could have been so much better. We missed a field goal. We missed opportunities in the red zone. And again, that kind of sloppy play there in the first half. Just you can't really do that and expect to win. We pulled it out because Green Bay's a little bit worse than we all thought they were going to be heading into this game. So that certainly helped us out, down the stretch. But I think it was just solid. I mean, there's a lot more that we could be doing and need to do if we want to win more games.
Absolutely.
There are very few things on earth, especially football related, that I hate more than 19-yard field goals.
Yeah.
You got to score. You get inside the 5, you got to get in the end zone. We had a 19-yard field goal and a 22-yard field goal today. That is unacceptable in my book. I mean, great for the points. You're down that close. You got to get in the end zone.
For sure.
I mean, your line of scrimmage is the 1-yard line if you're kicking from 19 yards out.
Yeah.
2-yard line, whatever it is. Way too close for a field goal.
Yeah, that's how you lose close games a lot of times, is by doing that route. We want to say what's up to Jack and what's up to Yam. We see you guys in the comments. Shout out to you guys. Eric, I want you to be the impartial party. As you watch the game, Brian and I are going back and forth about the running back situation throughout the duration of the game. Give me your assessment of the running backs today.
Well, first of all, thank you, Steve Jobs, for creating the mute button on text. On group text specifically. Look, Brian Robinson, I thought Antonio Gibson was more effective today. However, I thought Brian Robinson was very effective today. He is what he is. He's a chain mover. He falls forward. He very, very rarely goes backwards. One knock that I do have on Robinson is his decision making. I think he's a little too quick to bounce it outside. You saw on several occasions today where he, gave up on the hole a little too early and tried to go outside. It didn't work out for him. But for the most part, he moves forward. He did have one really nice run with a help from Curtis Samuel with a really good block.
Yep.
But again, he averaged under 4 yards a carry, which I think you're just going to see that from him. And he'll have a game or two where he gets up and big. He's not an explosive running back, but he's a chain mover. That is a very valuable skill set to have in the NFL. Today, Antonio Gibson, I thought the usage was great. I want you guys to make sure you're sitting down. I saw a toss to Antonio Gibson. They actually ran a sweep play, which they never run.
Yeah, they did.
And it worked. They got like 12 yards on it. So, maybe do more of that. That's the kind of play that you can run for him. And I think that, I'm going to be the impartial party, but I'm going to strike a balance here because I don't think Antonio Gibson is that effective without Brian Robinson playing his role. I think the two of them working together is exactly what this team needs in the backfield. So I'm not going to poo-poo one and elevate the other. I thought they both did their jobs well today. I think Antonio Gibson was more explosive and a little more impressive, but Robinson's role was fulfilled greatly at 73 yards on the ground, something like that today. Yeah. So a solid job, if not spectacular. And I think I'd like to see that kind of balance moving forward. And this team might become semi-watchable if we can manage to do that.
Vote for Eric in November. He's a politician. He's running for office.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you were wrong. Look, I'm gonna keep it real on Robinson. Okay.
You want to see Antonio? You've seen Antonio Gibson as the every down back. You've seen what that looks like.
You saw him get 1,000 yards last year. That's what you saw. Now listen,
in 17 games, that's like 53 yards a game, dude. It's not like Jim Brown running for 1,000 yards in 10 games.
Come on.
Yeah.
Look,
so
if
he averaged like 50. Yeah. He's not effective as an every down back. He is effective splitting carries, and he plays. And if he's got somebody that can do the legwork and keep him fresh, he's much more explosive. Robinson, I don't think is going to be an every down back. Depending on how he comes back from, maybe he's got more, that he can work back from the injuries.
Gallman, but Barber-esque, and that's
and I'm fine with that. Those guys have had long, productive NFL careers, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
So I don't think either one is. I don't think we have a 1A back. I think we've got a back. We've got a two-back backfield.
You know what?
And that's
it doesn't even matter and we're fine with that because we don't believe in running the ball as much as we need to anyway. So it's all good. Johnny Colorossi says, regardless of how we won last game or how we won this game, we're riding a 2-game win streak. And next week, we should have Logan Thomas, Dotson, and Chase Young back.
Whoa, Dotson ain't back next week.
Whoa.
We might not see Dotson again this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dotson.
I'm calling that now.
Yeah,
that hamstring that's going to be tricky. He needs to be out for a while. If they bring him back next week, he's not going to finish the game.
we don't need to see Dotson or Chase Young. As much as I want Dotson back, I don't want to make it worse. And we don't need to put any pressure on Chase Young to come back and be some kind of savior, and then he re-injures whatever he's got going on, especially off a surgically restructured, repaired, rebuilt, ACL there. That's not good. So
he's got to come back sometime. Now, but the point I think Johnny's making is that there's help on the way, right? So we've won 2 games in a row. Who do we play next week? The Giants? Is that correct? We'll talk about it later in the week.
No.
I don't know
who we play next week.
But
we're worried about this week right now.
Yeah,
the Colts next week.
Colts
Wentz revenge game that he's not going to be there for.
That's a winnable game. Okay, so look, we can put something together here. I think is the point Johnny's making, and we got help on the way. Listen, I think that we're really missing an impact from the tight end position in this offense. I think that was obvious on a few plays today. They're making up for it with some creative schemes to get the backs out in space. Where is J.D. McKissick? What the heck has happened to J.D. McKissick this year? I don't understand.
There's just not enough carries to go around or touches to go around. I mean, if you've now got Gibson, who is being more involved in the pass game, well, what was J.D. McKissick known for? He was known for those for being in the pass game. And, you've got Brian Robinson who's taking the carries up the middle, right? Those hard yards where it's, 2-3 yards. So, you're now getting that. And, J.D. McKissick, unfortunately, I still think he's really good. And every time he does get the ball, he shows you his burst is still there. It just, unfortunately, he's only getting 1 or 2 touches a game now, if that. And then they're using him, to pass block as well too, but just not enough touches for him.
He was the intended receiver on the pick 6, if that makes you feel any better.
Yeah,
which it shouldn't.
It does. That doesn't help.
Okay.
Let's talk about coaching for a second. Jack Del Rio, the defensive staff today, William Jackson not playing. Eric, how do you think they did?
I thought the defense called a great game. They played a great game because they got really sloppy on that second to last drive where Rodgers hit Jones for the touchdown. But outside of that, I thought they were really good. Everybody was in position for the most part. They were able to make plays. Again, the tackling got a little sloppy again on that one drive. So that's something that it certainly wasn't a perfect game, but I have no complaints about the game planning and the execution on defense. What's crazy about defense this week is like Jamin Davis. Am I wrong? The dude was everywhere, right? He was like, he just kept showing up and like he was in on every play, but he had like 5 tackles, and I'm really sad about that. Like I thought he was going to statistically be better because he looked like he was just always around the ball today.
Yeah.
But yeah, coaching wise, sorry, that was just an aside because I have ADD. But coaching wise, yeah, I thought Del Rio called a great game today, and the defensive secondary really held up well. It helped that the receivers are terrible in Green Bay. That probably helped a lot. But like I said, your boy Wild Goose, I thought he played really well. St. Juice had a strong game. The one penalty aside, and Kendall Fuller even showed up a little bit today, so it was good to see him again. So maybe we'll see more of that this year. But yeah, no complaints about the defensive coaching today anyway.
Yeah. Green Bay was putting the ball on the ground from their receivers.
Green Bay's receivers are just awful. Just terrible.
Did you see the look Rodgers was giving those receivers?
Dude, that is like, he's got resting bitch face like forever. Because dude, and I don't blame him because man, he was throwing some dimes and those guys were just dropping them.
Yeah. What are you gonna say, Brian?
The one thing that Green Bay did really well, and it was something that stuck out. I mean, it was glaring to me, is they ran a lot of tosses or sweeps, and you could see our linebackers struggle to fight through the traffic and run down those tosses and sweeps, because every time they ran one, it seemed like it went for like 6, 7, 8, 9 yards. Yeah. When they ran it straight up the middle, Damian Davis was there to kind of shut it down, but none of the linebackers of our linebackers were very good when they tossed it. I mean, they ended up getting caught up in the wash and getting blocked, and they got yards on us. But straight ahead, Jamin Davis did look better, but it looked like purposefully Green Bay had seen something on tape. So I wonder if moving forward we'll see some more offenses kind of run some of these tosses against our defense because of it.
Yeah, really good play design on that one. Yeah, and it helps that as bad as they are at receiving, the receivers are actually really good at blocking. So you have to credit Green Bay on that. And that's a note to Scott Turner that if a play works, you can actually run it more than once a game. So maybe we could, because that little toss play was working great for them, and they kept going back to it.
Yeah.
And their receivers did a great job blocking on that. So I credit Green Bay with that more than I like kind of tag Washington's defense. I think you're right. They did see something that they liked on that. And the ability of their receivers to block was definitely a factor in that.
Yeah. They ran that little pocket screen to Aaron Jones a couple times too.
Yeah.
And it looked like you were getting him stopped in the backfield, and he just found a way to get yards, man. Aaron Jones is such a weapon. And I think you see a lot of similarities in how they use Jones with how they should use Gibson more in our offense. I'm like, God, we just got to get that level of creativity. The creativity in the plays from Green Bay to our offense was so drastically different. I'm like, man, Scott Turner has to start watching other offenses and learn a little bit from what they're doing. All right, I'm going to get to the comments a little bit. Jack Joestar, he's got a couple things here. He says he's glad he started McLaurin in fantasy today. Yeah, if you did, you should be. How was the play calling offense today? We're going to touch on that in a minute. Hang tight. How big of an impact will Chase Young have on the pass rush when he returns? I don't think we know the answer to that question yet. I think you think it's going to be tremendous. One of the things that I think our current defensive end, Smith Williams, does is set the edge relatively well. So let's see what Chase Young does in the pass rush game. Yam says, I'm glad we won, so all the Colts fans will take off the Green Bay gear for a little while at least. Jack says, need to have Davis rush more. Yes, I'm still waiting to see that on a consistent basis. Too many penalties on defense. We agree. Rodgers took too much magic mushrooms before the game. Listen, I have never taken those. I don't know what they do for you. And Dave in DC says, offensive line looks so much better today. And that is such a critical point. The same offensive line started last week. Consistency matters. Cosme was back. The pocket looks so much better. Now, obviously, credit Taylor for his mobility in the pocket, right? Helping that offensive line look a little bit better. But we had better players today. Sadiq Charles at guard. Eric has called this out several weeks in a row. He looks much better than what we had at guard starting the year. Sadiq Charles should get some credit for how he's playing. Sam Cosme was back with the club on his hand, and he played a really good game from what we can tell. So I am very, very, very encouraged by what we saw from the offensive line today. Brian, I want you to jump into the offensive play calling for the Commanders. What'd you think about it?
It was much better. And to piggyback off what you're saying about the offensive line, this is something that we had talked about here. I know the offensive line had played poorly in these previous games, but we were throwing the ball 40 plus times a game. What did we do today? Brian Robinson, 20 carries. Antonio Gibson, another 10 carries. Curtis Samuel and McKissick had like 3 carries between them. But you're talking about 30 carries from your running backs. When you have that type of balance, that offensive line is going to look better, especially when you don't have some of the talent that we had on offensive line that we did, previously last year. So that was good to see, is that there was more of a balance, right? We didn't ask Heineke to win the game with 40 plus pass attempts like we've been asking Carson Wentz to do in those 6 games. So that was better. I think you touched on it. Some of the creativity just still isn't there with Scott Turner. We probably may never see it. He is very rigid when it comes to his offense and his play calling. But it was better today. He did stick to the run. He allowed his playmakers to get the football. And guess what? I don't know what it is. Whether, you mentioned it, Ellie, at the beginning. Did Taylor Heineke specifically say, you know what, I'm just going to throw it to Terry on this play, regardless of where the play tells me I'm supposed to go? Or Scott Turner actually said, hey, we got to look for Terry more. Here's more plays for Terry. But you could see a complete difference in the pass game and just the kind of tempo and energy of our offense when Terry gets the football, when Terry breaks a tackle, when Terry gains yards after the catch. And for everyone at home, Jair Alexander for Green Bay is an excellent cornerback, and Terry had no issues running by him and getting behind him, and that's something Terry does weekly. We just we'd either don't throw it to him or we can't get him the football for some reason. So that was awesome to see Terry do that to a really, really good cornerback in the NFL. So play calling was better, but there's still a lot of room to be desired in terms of creativity and points being scored, because we can't come back with field goals. We got to score touchdowns because the teams we're going to be playing get better and better each week.
I'm taking the dub today. Yeah, great analysis there, Brian. I completely agree. I think one of the things I wanted to see was a little bit more running attempts for Heineke, but I noticed Green Bay was keeping a linebacker in as a spy. Did you guys see that throughout the game?
Yes, they did.
And that actually led to a first down conversion late in the game on a little, I think it was an out route, may have been a drag route to one of our guys. Because that spy, I think it was number 7, was watching Heineke and the receiver just right in front of him and went out to the flat, and then Heineke flipped it out to him. It was a really nice setup there. I just, but see, that's the thing. Mobility. I don't know why this coaching staff won't admit that this offense needs a mobile quarterback to be effective.
Mm-hmm.
Year in and year out, they seem to want a true pocket passer, an old school 1990s cement foot quarterback. If you have a mobile quarterback, this offense will be infinitely better, and they just don't seem to want to look in that direction. I'm glad we got the W today on to Indianapolis or wherever that game is, but I am very, very excited about what we saw out there today just because it's a win. And our season is not over. And there's nothing worse than being, at Halloween and there's no meaningful football left to be played. We still have meaningful football in front of us thanks to the win the last 2 weeks. So I'm very, very joyful for that. Eric, any final thoughts on the game today?
Yeah, you said it. Take the W and move forward. Look forward to more highs and lows with Taylor Heineke and lots of quarterback controversies. I'm calling it now 2-2. That's what he'll be as a starter, and we'll be right where we are when Carson Wentz gets healthy again. We'll still be arguing about who's better because we're going to win one more, and we'll probably drop 2, making Heineke 500. Just in time for Wentz to come off IR, and then we can have that conversation because we'll be just on the fringe of the playoffs en route to a 7-10 season. But enjoy today because today was a win, guys.
Carpe diem. Brian, final thoughts for today.
Final thoughts are for today is don't forget the effect, the changes, the adjustments that you guys made today, right? The coaching staff did change how they played defensively. I thought it was a vastly improved game. I saw lots of cornerbacks up on the receivers playing tighter coverage, better coverage. It was just great to see that. And the offense decided to run the football a little bit more, help that offensive line, help the offense in general. Don't forget how it played out. We got a win when we did those things. Don't go away from it next week. We've got a struggling Indianapolis Colts team. Matt Ryan just threw 2 interceptions today. They apparently are not giving the football to Jonathan Taylor anymore. Matt Ryan threw it 44 times. Don't be like them. Be like what you were today.
Yeah. And I think, look, we still aren't creating defensive turnovers, and sooner or later, that's going to hurt us a lot. We have got to find a way to create defensive turnovers. That is going to be massive for us. My final thoughts are this. Look, today shows you run the ball, you play defense, you can still win in the NFL, right? How high of a level you can win at, it remains to be seen, but in the regular season, you can still win like that. So let's do that even when Wentz comes back to this team later in the year, no matter who's quarterback. If Sam Howell is in the game, run the football, play solid defense, get a benefit from some drops on the other side. Yeah, I'm sure other teams don't drop the ball as much as these Green Bay receivers, but you gotta take advantage of what you're given, right? And I got no hate for this Commanders team for doing that today. It's a good moment for us, and I am super excited about this Colts game next week. Yam's final thought: why do we pay $28 million for Wentz? He says, just kidding. I understand why. Oh, it's a long season, my friend. It is a long, long season. And
Go to bed, Yam.
He just got up, he said. Anyway.
Go back to bed.
Yeah, go back to sleep. We are the Commanders Declassified Podcast. What do you
got? We've got big news coming Tuesday. So everybody out there, stay tuned. Check us out Tuesday night for the deep dive pod against Indianapolis. We've got some big news. Ellie has some. You got like 4 or 5 articles up on the website, which is now www.commanders247.com. Is that right?
Commanders247.com.
That's the new website.
Yes, that is the new website. Go check it out. Go read them. Man, we appreciate everybody that checked those out this past week. Brian's got the report card coming out. I think he's got some other stuff dropping later this week. So, hey, look, if you need content about your Commanders, we got it for you. Okay. Now, subscribe, stay locked in, tell your friends to tell some friends, and we'll check you guys on Tuesday. We might not be live, but we're always in effect. Peace.